Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I've learned as I've grown into the person that I am today. And I was kind of trying to think about what were some of the most profound things I have learned in my life, because I wanted to kind of share some of those, over the next couple weeks. My birthday is at the end of this month, and every time I have a birthday or a sobriety birthday, and my sobriety birthday and my birthday are almost 6 months apart. My birthday is June 29th, and my sobriety birthday is December 17th. So it kind of gives me 6-month check-ins to kind of think about, where am I at in my life right now, and what have I learned, and what do I want to learn going forward? What are the things that have held me back? What are the obstacles I've had in my life? All of those things. And I always kind of, do an evaluation of where I'm at in my life and where I want to go forward and what I want to learn and those kinds of things. And I will tell you, as a spiritual person, it is sometimes dangerous because those things that I ask for, like if I ask for patience, I'll end up in a traffic jam or I'll end up behind 5 people, inside the gas station. So I have to be careful what I ask to learn, because a lot of times they're blessings in disguise and they come to me in ways that I don't necessarily want to learn them, And that's kind of indirectly what I wanted to talk about today. I was thinking about one of the most valuable lessons that I've ever learned in my life. And it's kind of on the heels of the vlog that I was doing. Last night I did a vlog and I talked at length about coming out to my parents. And I was talking about like my 18th birthday, which was after I graduated 20 years ago yesterday. And I was talking about, like the whole coming out process for me and what that was like, and talking to my parents. And I feel very blessed because my parents, were very accepting of me coming out. And I talk about, go over there and watch the vlog. It's the last half of the vlog. And I kind of break it all down. So anyway, but I was thinking about that afterwards, and I was thinking about, like, Peter, how do you define yourself, Do you define yourself as a proud gay man? Do you define yourself as a husband? Do you define yourself as a son? Do you define yourself, as an only child? Do you define yourself as a person in recovery or an addict and an alcoholic? Do you find yourself, as an adult child of an alcoholic? There are a lot of ways that I can define myself. There are a lot of ways that I can define myself based on things that have happened to me in my life. Very tragic things that have happened to me. And, it would be really easy for me to, for the rest of my life, always go back to these things that have happened to me, Whether it's things that are going to happen to a lot of other people, like losing my mom, or if it's being bullied or whatever. And, for the purpose of this video, I think that there are a lot of things that I could choose to talk about, but I think I'm going to specifically choose the bullying, situation to talk about. And I talk a lot about it in all of my videos because it has still had an imprint on who I am today. It still has left some scarring on who I am today. But years ago, I had a friend of mine, and every time that I would talk to her, it was always about things that had happened 20 years ago. So, like, for example, if she was going through a breakup, she would say to me, well, it's really difficult, and you know what happened to me 20 years ago, right? And so it was always like, that was the point of reference for everything that happened in her life. Anything that happened in her life, was because this happened to her 20 years ago. And kind of like being around her a lot, sometimes when people drive you crazy, have you ever noticed that the people that drive you crazy sometimes have very similar behaviors to yourself? And so a lot of times they're holding up a mirror to you and you don't even realize it. Now, owning your truth is being able to look at somebody else and the behaviors. This does not mean always, okay? But a lot of times the behaviors of other people that we don't like are typically behaviors in ourselves that we don't like. Maybe behaviors we've changed, or maybe behaviors that we still have. But a lot of times they're behaviors or patterns of thinking or personality traits that drive us crazy, And it's interesting because a lot of people think that Alex and I are very, very different because of, our age difference and things like that, and, our cultural differences, and he drinks and I'm in recovery. We have a lot of differences, right? But we also have a lot of similarities, and it's interesting because our friends comment all the time, like our close friends. We were just out to dinner with our friends Melissa and her husband Jason last night, and they were like, you guys are like twins. Like, we think the same way, we say the same things. And interestingly enough, one night, like, we were talking and I said, what's something about me, he goes, what's something about me that drives you crazy? This was when we were in Miami. And I said, do you know what drives me crazy? is when you come in the house and we have all wood floors and slate floors, okay? So like our bedroom is all wood floors and we're in a loft, so anything, it's very loud. You can hear everything. I said, when you come home, you like walk so heavy upstairs that it literally like echoes to the house. And he goes, no. He goes, you do that. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, you walk so heavy on the floors upstairs. And I was like, well, do you think it's just the flooring? And we both do it. He goes, no, I think you walk really heavy on the floor. And so it's like, you know, sometimes those things that we don't like about ourselves are things we see in other people. And that's just a really minuscule, stupid example. But, you know, a lot of times it's interesting to me because I get criticized a lot, obviously, for talking a lot and talking very fast. Two things that I don't seem to be able to control no matter, you know, like sometimes I'll just sit there like and I'll like be silent. This was something that my mother like went through hell with too, you know. People would always say to her, you talk too much, you talk too much, you talk too much. And you talk too fast. I can't understand what you're saying, you're talking too fast. And so she would, like there would be times when she wouldn't talk at all. And she would say, then what I would say is, I'd be like, what's wrong, Mom? Like, and somebody would say, well, what's wrong with you? And she would say, well, I mean, you guys don't like it when I talk, so I just won't talk at all. And that's kind of how I feel sometimes, but that's like my bitter, resentful part that I need to like steer clear of. And so, but I have before gone through dinners and I just like, I will very rarely say anything because the last time I went out to dinner with somebody, they'll not my close friends, but it'll always be like somebody that's at this dinner will say, God, he talks so much, or you talk so much, or I'll overhear it, you know? And then they'll go, what's wrong? Because if I'm not talking a lot, then there's something wrong with me. But what's interesting to me about it is that whenever I get accused of that or somebody says something to me about talking a lot, it's always the other person that talks a lot that says it to me. It's never like the silent person at the table, you know? And it's always the loudest person that's looking at me going, hold it down. And I'm like, do you realize how loud you are? Do you guys relate to that? Like, it's always that person that wants to call you out for your shit. And the reality is we're mirrors of each other, you know? And so one of the most profound lessons that I've learned in my life is that I must look at other behaviors I see in people and ask myself, does it bother you because you exhibit the same behaviors? Is that what's going on with you? And the other thing is letting some of that shit go. You know what I mean? Like other things that people do are gonna drive you crazy. And you have to really ask yourself, like, is this me like worth losing a friend over or whatever? Like, you know, I've never in my life given up a friendship because of something petty. I never have, you know, like because of somebody, you know, like talking too loud or talking too much. I cannot fix my hair. I know it doesn't matter, but talking too much or talking too loud or whatever, right? But like, have you ever had people that are like, oh, I just can't deal with her, or like, I can't be around her anymore, she talks so much, or, you know, like, all she ever talks about is herself. And yes, it gets old, right? But like, that's where as friends, we should be able to talk to each other, and we should be able to say, you know, like, I feel like every time I talk to you, you're always talking about yourself. I've been accused of that. I have been accused of that. Even recently, I've been accused of that. And I've said to those friends, I've said, can I ask you a question? And they're like, yes. And I'll say, when I talk to you, do I talk a lot about myself? And some of my friends will say, absolutely not. And they'll say, like Tanya is always like, no, you're very good about asking me about myself and what's going on with me. But other friends will say, you do talk a lot about yourself. You know, you really do. And I'm in my head thinking to myself, well, didn't we just spend 2 hours yesterday talking about this project that you're doing and I have no part of? So I'm confused. But that being said, it's not about that. I need to take a look at myself. And so I'll say, well, when do you notice that I do it? And they'll say, I mean, you know, you talk a lot about this, you talk a lot about that. And I'll say, okay, well, in the future, when I'm doing that, will you point it out to me so that I can change it? Because like I always say, we want to remain teachable. We want to continue to grow as people, you know? And one of the things that I want going forward, that I'm looking into 46, you know, is that I want to have friendships. I want to have valuable, quality friendships where people feel like they can say things to me, not in a hurtful way, but with compassion, where they think that it might help me grow as a person. You know, it's kind of this side effect of being in recovery. Like, in recovery, the language is, like, I don't have a problem saying, you know, to Tanya, wow, it sounds like you have a resentment, like you might want to work on that. Have you thought about that? And she won't take that offensively. But if I would say that to a lot of my other friends that don't have the language of recovery, they would be like, why are you calling me out for having a resentment or a grudge? Like, they wouldn't get it, right? And so one of the things that I want to move towards in the next year is I want more of my friendships to be very open. One of the greatest learning experiences of my life. Now, I talk a lot about, my two best friends are Tanya, obviously. She's been my diehard good best friend for 21 years. And Melissa is a very close friend of mine as well. Melissa's husband is in a band, or he was in a band. He now plays in different bands, but he was in a very popular band. They did very, very well. They toured nationally and things like that. And the members got together a couple years ago, I think it was like 5 years ago, and they were going to just do like 20 shows to did a reunion tour, and then they were done forever. And Melissa had asked us to come, and she had, I know, Boo Radley's over here, but she had asked us to come, and she had said, it would really mean a lot to Jason if you would come to the show. Well, something came up that night. I cannot remember what it was. For the life of me, I don't know what came up that was so important that we wouldn't go to the show. It was his very last show. And it was literally right up the street. I do remember that afterwards, Alex and I were like, oh my God, we were supposed to be at Jason's show tonight, and we totally forgot. We both felt really bad. So flash forward 2 weeks later, Melissa and I are going out to eat, and we were sitting there, and it was just the two of us at lunch, and she said, can I talk to you about something? And I said, yes. And she said to me, I don't know really how to say this to you, so I'm just going to come out directly because we have this kind of friendship, and I couldn't say this to other people. She said, it really hurt Jason and myself a lot that you and Alex didn't come out for Jason's last show. And she said, we've been really supportive of you guys and everything that you do. We love you guys. It's not going to stop. But I just wanted you to know that, we didn't really understand. You didn't respond to us. We thought you were going to be there that night. I felt horrible. I felt so bad. And, I said to her, Melissa, and I apologize to Jason too. Alex and I both did. And I said, I can't go back. I can't change it, but I can remain teachable and be a better person in the future. And she said, okay. She goes, well, I just want you to know, I'm not mad at you. Jason's not mad at you. We love you guys. It just hurt. And, the reality is that when we're friends with people and you're that close, you're going to hurt each other. From time to time, you're going to say something that's insensitive. You're going to do something that's insensitive. It wasn't Alex and I's intention to not show up to Jason's, show. We just, honestly, we forgot. Something else came up. It wasn't that deep on our end, but it was on his, and we didn't do it maliciously or with, malintent, but it hurt his feelings. Friends should be able to tell each other when they hurt each other's feelings. Friends should be able to say, hey, listen, you hurt my feelings. I apologize. Boo Radley. We should be able to say to each other, you hurt my feelings. And in the future, we just have a conversation about that. And, we have, and there's been other things, and Melissa's done some things that I've had to go to her and say, hey, this really hurt my feelings. And I'm so proud of our relationship, and I'm so proud of our friendship that we're able to go to each other and we're able to say those things to one another, because, that's a really valuable friendship in my life. And my friendship with Tanya is exactly the same way. And, going forward, I want all of my friendships, if they're going to stay in my life, to be that transparent and to be that open. So anyway, I just wanted to talk about that in relationship to friendships. And, I think that we talk a lot about relationship and marriage counseling and couples counseling, but we don't talk a lot about the fact that maybe friendships sometimes need counseling. And, I have known some friends that have gone to counseling together before, but I think that if we remain teachable and we listen to one another and we say, hey, listen, you really matter to me. I care about you. I love you. What can I do to make the situation better in the future? We can not have to go separate ways and talk behind each other's backs and hurt each other's feelings. And it's just that simple. We all could improve and be better friends. All of us. All of us. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.